How do you build connections with admissions? How do you start to foster those relationships that's going to allow them to get to know you as a person beyond just your scores? For those of you who are new, my name is Sydney Montgomery, and I am a law school admission consultant specializing in working with first generation and minority applicants. So today I want to bring you just 3 points, 3 key areas that you can think about when you're thinking about building relationships with the admissions committee. But before we dive in, I also want to start with just some daily affirmation, because for me, this process is more than just writing essays. It's more than just getting the good LSAT score. It's really a chance for you to be introspective, to learn about yourself, to grow, and to really develop a positive mindset that's going to take you to the next place in your legal career. So the affirmation I want to read to you today is that I honor my commitments to myself. And I think that's really important. That's really important for me because sometimes I tend to put everyone else first. I tend to honor everyone else's commitments, and then maybe the things that I wanted to do for myself, they don't always get done. Or I'm like, it's not important. Or, however many times I've put something on my to-do list for myself and then a month later it's still on my to-do list. That's me. I don't know how many of you can relate to that. But I want to really center us on this concept of I honor my commitments to myself, because you have made a commitment to yourself in this law school process. You are committed to showing up, to giving yourself the time and space that you need to write the best essays, to really get the best score, to really do what you need to do to set yourself up for your future career that will impact communities. So as we talk about building relationships with admissions committees, I want you to keep that in mind. What is the commitment that you're making to yourself? The other reason why this is so important, and I've said this a number of times, this process is relational and not transactional. So that's actually the first point. Those 3 points that we're going to talk about today, how can you build relationships with admissions committee? That first point is that you need to remember that this process is relational and not transactional. The second thing is that I want you to learn how to best introduce yourself to admissions. And then the third thing we're going to talk about is how to make sure that you are following up and continuing to build those relationships after you have started. So, that first thing, this is a relational process. It is not a transactional process. I have so many mentors in my life for whom I would not be where I am without their guidance. I could not be the attorney that I was as a family litigator. I probably wouldn't have even gotten to the law school that I did, and I wouldn't be where I am right now as a woman entrepreneur without the help and guidance of some of my mentors, many of whom I met in the application process, many of whom were actually the admission deans and directors that were the people reading my application. And I know we don't really think of them as people that can stay in our orbit, and sometimes we don't think about them as people at all. If we're going to be very honest with ourselves, we just kind of think that there's this faceless, nameless, amorphous person or amorphous committee of strangers who don't care about us, who we can't relate to, and we're just trying to convince them to let us in. And that's kind of the mindset that we go into this process with. And I'd like to challenge you to reshape that mindset, because if you start to think of them as people, which they are, they're people with families, with goals, with dreams, many of whom were applying to law school. You'll be surprised, many of whom were in your shoes not that long ago. So when you think of them as people, then it creates a different kind of intentionality when you are going to information sessions or going to LSAC digital forums. When you have the opportunity to interface with the people on the other side of the desk, you want to be thinking, how can I get to know this person? Maybe I get into their school, maybe I don't get into their school, but how can I keep this person as part of my legal professional network? And it can be really strange to think about, well, I mean, if I don't get into their school, why would they stay in my network? Or if I don't go to their school, if I end up going somewhere else, why do they matter? But they do. Because my mentors, some of whom I love, are from admissions deans and directors that I didn't go to the school. They're people who I got to know through the process. I got to know them when they came and visited my school. I got to know them through emails, through my own personal visits at the law schools. And then I followed up with them. And you will never know, like they may know somebody in your industry. Because remember, the legal community is actually really small. It's so much smaller than we think. So yes, you might not go to the school that they're an admissions director of, but one of their colleagues might be someone in intellectual property, or maybe they're friends with the person who started the critical race theory program at a school that you're looking at, and that really excites you. There are a lot of connections to be made here, and when you close the door because you think that they aren't going to serve one purpose, you lose out on the opportunities for them to fulfill and enrich your life in a different purpose. So that's the first thing, is I want to talk to you and I want to remind you that this is a relational and non-transactional process. But let's say you're with me. You're like, okay, Sydney, relational. I got it. But now what? How do I actually say hi? Do I just email them? Do I just drop by? Like, what is the protocol here? I like to say that the best and easiest way for you to get to know admissions is through the forms that they provide themselves. So through an information session or a digital forum. At an information session, oftentimes it will be the dean or director leading that information session. But if it's not, it could be someone else. And at the end, they always say, here's my contact information. Please contact me if you have any additional questions. And most people actually don't follow up. Honestly, let's be real. Some of you listening have not even thought about going to an info session. You want to go to an info session. Get to know them. Okay, set up a time. Some of these schools have places where you can set up a time to speak with someone from admissions and really get to introduce yourself and share your story. But if you are just going to an info session and they have left their contact information, I want you to think, what questions can I follow up and ask them that they did not mention in an info session? Do not ask them something that's on the website, because it's on the website. And you might be like, well, I don't have any questions. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. What are things that pertain to the things that would make you succeed? What is it that you need in a law school to be successful? Do you want to ask about mentoring programs? Do you want to ask about the Office of Disability Services? Do you want to ask about the supports they give for moms or parents? Do you want to ask about the support they give to military veterans? What about a specific area that you're interested in studying? Do they have programs and centers for human rights or intellectual property that would really excite you? Do they have opportunities for you to clinic and extern? Maybe you've seen some clinics, but you haven't seen a clinic in the area that you're most excited about. Perhaps you can email and say, I've been looking and doing research on your clinics and journals. I'm really interested in food law. You guys know I love to use food law as an example. I'm really interested in food law. What are the resources available at your school for this particular area? Or what supports do you give students to help them find additional resources that are not provided by the school? That's a great question. Because now, one, you're telling me I've done this research, right? I've seen that you have clinics in, maybe, I don't know what's tangentially related to food law, but, maybe a topic that's like it, like environmental law, for example, that has a lot of touch points with food law, or maybe urban planning. So, might say, like, I've looked at this clinic and I've looked at that clinic and I've seen where the overlap between that and food law is, but I really want to know what areas or what opportunities are there for me to grow in this particular area. Are there students that create their own independent clinics, and what is the support like? There's no shortage of questions that you can ask that would actually help you. One, they would help you in your search, in your research, and learning about this place is going to be your home for the next 3 years. And it is professional school. So you want to make sure that you are getting out of it all that you want. Now, some of these questions are easier when you have solidified your why law. I love to talk about your why law statement. But when you know what kind of law you want to practice, you're able to ask better questions to admissions after the information session because you're more targeted in your research. You come across as focused, you come across as researched, you come across as highly dedicated and interested in the school, which all goes towards their yield. Remember, law schools are really caring about their yield. And what does yield mean? Yield is the percentage of students that say yes to their offer of acceptance. So some schools, they end up, if they want to fill 500 seats, they've got to say yes to 2,000 people. And you might think that's crazy, but with so many law school applicants applying to so many more schools, it can be difficult to predict how many of those yeses are going to say yes to you versus saying yes to another school. So they love it when they can feel more confident about an applicant. Yes, she's so interested, she's so dedicated. Maybe she doesn't come here, but I think there's a good chance she might, especially if we're able to meet her needs in these ways and we're able to get to know her a little bit more. You often don't think about the other side of admissions. It's so easy to just think about, I want them to say yes to me. I want to convince them to let me in. That you don't realize that on the other side, they want you to say yes to them. They are also trying to sell you on their school, and they are also trying to help you see yourself at the school. So it goes both ways, and you can use some of these questions to help gauge your own interest and also see if it is a good fit, because maybe you ask these questions and you're realizing, wow, they really don't have a lot of the things that I thought they would. They don't have a lot of support for veterans. They don't have a lot of things for first generation students. They don't seem to have a lot of things to help students with external clinics. I don't know if this is going to be a good fit for me. Doesn't mean automatically you don't apply, but it's more knowledge. And I am all about helping you gain more knowledge, because when you are knowledgeable, you make smart decisions. And this is a big investment, which means you need to make the smartest decision. You want to be fully prepared. You don't want to just choose a school because, I don't know, I heard about it, and I don't know, it's ranked this, and that's it, right? Because listen, rankings are not everything. They're not. You can go to a top ranked school, right? And it could not be a good fit for you. And if it's not a good fit for you, you're not going to thrive. And you can go to a lower ranked school that is a perfect fit for your interests, for your goals, for your humanity. And it can fill your soul up in a way that you thrive. Maybe you're even top of your class and you get more out of it. You make more connections. You are bonded more with your classmates because your classmates are connections. And then you're able to have your legal career really soar. So just because a school is top ranked does not mean it's going to be a good fit for you. And just because a school is lower ranked does not mean you cannot excel and thrive in your legal career. But you need to start asking questions that are going to help you gauge whether this is going to help your professional development or not. And that is especially true if you are a first generation or minority applicant. The area, the atmosphere of the school is important to your own success as a student. You don't want to go somewhere where you're going to be demoralized, where you're going to feel discouraged, where you're going to feel isolated, because that will not help you become a better attorney. And I want you all to become fantastic attorneys. So I want you to ask these questions that are going to help you gauge the best fit school for you. Now, that third point that I mentioned is following up with admissions. So let's say you've done everything right. You're like, all right, Sydney, listen, I went to the information session. I emailed them my 2 good questions. The email might look something like, hi, my name is Sydney Montgomery. I attended the information session last night. Thank you so much for the information that you provided. You touched on this area, and I just wanted to know, I didn't get a chance to ask last night, or, I failed to ask last night. I wanted to know if you could go a little bit deeper in this area because these are my 2 specific questions. Don't give them 5 questions, y'all. Don't give them 10 questions. Is too many questions. They're going to get very overwhelmed. You want to make sure that you are maybe asking 1 or 2 questions, questions that are really going to show them that you're engaged and interested, but that you're not bombarding them with questions, because these people are busy. And when we talk about that first point, right, about this is a relational, not a transactional relationship, respect the fact that they're busy. Respect the fact that they have a million people. There was a really great quote from Navigating Law School Admissions with Miriam and Christie's podcast last season. By the way, season 2 is coming of Navigating Law School Admissions with Miriam and Christie. For those of you who don't know, it is the podcast hosted by Miriam Ingber, who is the Dean of Admissions and Financial Aid at Yale Law School, and Christy Jobson, who is the Dean of Admissions at Harvard Law School. Those are both fantastic humans, some of my favorite people. I am so excited for season 2. If you were sleeping last year because you weren't applying to law school, go back and listen to the podcast. It's only like 7 or 8 episodes. Everything is golden. Everything is beautiful. Just gems on gems dropped. But one of the things that I loved from that podcast is there was this quote that said, think about their actions and think, if everyone did this, if every single applicant did this, would they be overwhelmed? And if the answer is yes, don't do it. Be courteous and respectful. But you can still ask a question and follow up because that's what they want. That's what they're there for. But then how do you continue to build this relationship? You want to keep in touch. So let's say you go to an information session tomorrow, let's just say, right? And you're not submitting your application until September. I don't think there's anything wrong with following up with maybe an additional question right before you submit or right after you submit. Thank you so much for the conversation we had in July about this. I just wanted to let you know I just submitted my application. I did have one additional question that I wanted to ask about this. Super simple, super clean, super short. We talk and we will continue to talk as the application cycle progresses about what it looks like to stay in contact after you've hit submit in terms of how much follow-up you should have. Generally speaking, you really don't need to follow up with them until they contact you after you hit submit. But if, let's say you submit your applications in September, October, and it's March, you haven't heard from them, I would probably follow up, right? Because you want to at that point. But you don't want to be annoying or cross the line of just kind of badgering them. I do believe in sending updates when relevant, which is why even after you hit submit, I like to tell you there's still work to be done. For some of you, after you hit submit, I'm going to tell you to keep studying for the LSAT. Just do it. Just keep studying. And you're like, but I'm done. Yes, but in the event that you get waitlisted at your dream school, wouldn't you much prefer to have been studying the whole time so that maybe you can take an April LSAT, get a higher score, submit it, and get off the wait list? I feel like that's a better plan than just saying, oh my God, I haven't looked at the LSAT in 9 months, and now I think I want a better LSAT score. It's just, you don't want to do that. Just keep studying. I'm not saying you have to study 3 hours a day every day for the whole time, but just maybe every other day, maybe for an hour, just kind of peruse it, keep your skills up. I think that's a good way to go, honestly, throughout the cycles. You don't want to burn yourself out, but you do just want to keep a little bit fresh. And then, always be trying to advance yourself in whatever job and career that you're having. Maybe you get a promotion during the application cycle. Love to see it. Maybe you start a volunteer organization. Maybe you are able to do more work in your community. Listen, I love to see these updates. If you get waitlisted, you will have to write a letter of continued interest. Those usually include updates. It's real awkward when you get to that place and you don't have updates. So do yourself a favor, just mentally prepare. I'm going to keep updating myself. But as you are updating yourself and updating them, that's another place for you to continue to foster the relationship. So to recap, there are 3 things to keep in mind when you are thinking about fostering relationships with admissions. The first thing to keep in mind is that it is a relational and not a transactional process. They are people on the other side, fantastic people, great people, and they did not take this job just to say no, okay? No one took this job so that they can reject as many people as they want. That's not fun. That doesn't make anyone fulfilled, and honestly, we all want fulfillment in our career. They love saying yes. They love saying yes. Give them a reason to say yes. Show them who you are. Make sure that you are maximizing all of the optional supplements in your law school application. Make sure that you are able to showcase your personality. Some of you are awesome. Some of you are also awesome, but maybe are quieter people. But that's, I need you to grow and stretch yourself a little bit out of your comfort zone. Be who you are. Be authentic. They will love getting to know you because I have gotten to know so many of you, and you are all amazing. I'm honestly so inspired by you and your stories. I'm so inspired by the lives that so many of you have lived, the things that you've overcome, the goals, the dreams, and the hopes. It fills my heart with joy. And I know that if I feel that, they will feel that too when they get to know you. So I want you to remember this is a relational, not a transactional process. You can introduce yourself, that point number 2, introduce yourself after admission sessions, info sessions, digital forums. Have a question or two that is specific to you, that shows that you've done your research. That's not lazy. It's not just something from the website, but it's something that's actually going to give you more information about your fit at the school. I want you to have as much information about how this school is going to benefit you. And that's where you need to be focused on when you are thinking about what questions you have for admissions. You want to be courteous in your follow-up. You want to be short, right? Please do not write paragraphs and paragraphs. You don't need tons of background on your question. You don't need to go into all the reasons why you like intellectual property before asking them about their intellectual property program. The example that I gave you, I attended the information session last night. Thank you so much. I really appreciated you talking about this. I had a couple of questions that I didn't get to ask. I want to ask blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Thank you so much. Real quick, all right? Quick emails get answered. Long emails cause anxiety, and they go in the to be answered email folder. And because I have one of those, I can tell you it's just sometimes it's black hole. So don't let your email go into that, oh my God, I don't have time for this, let me answer it later folder. If it's a quick email, they'll just do it right there. It's that 2-minute or less rule. If it takes 2 minutes or less to answer it, they will answer it. And then that third point is continuing to follow up with them, around the time that you submit. If you have any updates, if you're waitlisted, continuing to go to events is a really good thing as well. I don't care if you've already gone to one info session. If they have something else, I want you to go to it. All right? I want you to be like, wow, Cindy just comes to all of our things. Yes, that's the energy that I want. Bring it. Okay? I want you to want it. If it was some celebrity that you loved that was having these things, you'd be at all of the little things. Be at all the things, okay? Make yourself known in a respectful manner. But if you show up to all the things, they're going to know. They're going to be like, she's about it, right? She's ride or die this school. Maybe you're not, but they're going to think you are, and that's important. So hopefully all of that was helpful. I want to know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know in email. Where are you in the application process right now? What are you struggling with? Where are you stuck? I would love to answer your questions. I have an upcoming workshop, Keys to a Successful Law School Application. It is completely free. There's a little bonus. If you come to the webinar at the end, there's a little bonus for you. So definitely check that out on my website. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Break Into Law School podcast, because that's where all this audio goes. And that is where you will also be able to listen to past episodes a little bit easier. But I just want you guys to have as much information as possible. The other thing is that a lot of your questions that I see you guys answering, I answer in my free guide to applying to law school. So if you look at the links below, look at the show notes, there's a link to a free essential guide to applying to law school. It's 62 pages, but you will be fully ready with all of the questions that you need for your personal statement, diversity statement, all of those good things. I love getting to know you. I really do. So if you haven't introduced yourself to me yet, please do. You can do so in my Facebook group. You can do so in the comments. You can shoot me an email. I really love getting to help you and know where you are in the journey. So don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I would love to see how I can help you on this process.